Hey, welcome back. You made it. It is day 5. It is the final day of the final week of the coding camp. You should really pat yourself on the back just for getting this far. Honestly, there's a big drop-off in the camp, and we lose people as it goes. So I'm back here again today, no surprise, with my campers. I'll go and let them introduce themselves. So I'm here with my campers again today. Oh, what nice looking shirts you have. It's the Connecting with Code 2021 orange. Very nice. All right, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Keegan Fisher.
And you?
Hi, I'm McKinley.
You guys ready for your last day?
Yes.
Super duper. So today's actually going to be kind of fun. We're going to do a project called Advanced Kaleidoscope. And the first part is going to be regular Kaleidoscope, and McKinley's going to teach it. But first I'm going to introduce kind of what we're doing. So the thing we're doing is a kaleidoscope. So that's a fun word to say, that's for sure. And there's a solution here, which I thought was already up, but it now is it up. So the way the solution works is it will ask you how many sprites would you like. So this is kind of part of the advanced thing. And I'm going to say that I want 5 sprites. And what it does is it lets you use the arrow keys to move around your 5 sprites. And you can use left and right to kind of make neat patterns and things like that. It, of course, doesn't have to be 5. So if you run it again, it'll ask you how many sprites would you like. Let's say I want, 40 sprites. So it'll make 40 individual sprites, and now when you do it, it'll actually kind of move all 40, which admittedly kind of always look like circles. You can also do a thing where you can switch the costumes, so you can kind of like change everybody's color to make another neat pattern and things like that. So it's a neat program. You can do a lot of like crazy shapes and things with it. You've probably seen like some of McKinley's patterns, but she does these crazy kaleidoscope things. So that's the goal today. It's kind of meant to be a little bit shorter, is the hope. And we're going to also kind of test you on a couple things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to build what I consider a regular kaleidoscope, and then we're going to have you turn it into like using clones and things like that. So for regular kaleidoscope, I'm actually going to have McKinley come up, and she's going to lead us through this. This is going to be the same if you happen to work week 1. This is going to be the same as what we did on day 5 of week 1. So we're going to do that together, and then we're going to make it into advanced version. All right, McKinley, come on up. It's all yours.
Hi, my name is McKinley Fisher, in case you've forgotten. And I'm going to be building the regular kaleidoscope code. So the first thing you need to do is go to scratch.mit.edu and then create a new game, and your screen should look like this. The first thing you're going to do is to delete the cat sprite and add a new sprite. This new sprite is going to be ball, and your ball sprite should have shown up on the screen. And then we're going to start with a green flag. When green flag clicked. And then we are going to choose what direction it's pointing in. So we're going to have this ball point in direction 0. So it's pointing straight up. And then we're going to have it go to 0, 0, the exact middle of the screen. Once you do that, you're going to go into Control and find a forever loop. Okay, so I zoomed in a little so you could see better. And so this is our code so far. When green flag clicked, point in direction, go to X0, Y0, and then a forever loop. In that forever loop, you're going to put 4 if statements. Inside of those if statements, you're going to go to sensing and put in key space press for each of them. Once you do that, you're going to change space to up, down, left, and right arrow key. Once you do that, you're going to go back up to motion so that you can actually move. And for the up arrow key, you're going to drag in a move 10 steps. So now if you were to run your program and press the up arrow key, your ball would move, but no other keys would work. We're actually going to change that 10 steps to 3. And we're going to do almost the exact same thing for the down arrow, except that we're going to do negative 3 steps. Now if you run your program, your ball should be able to go down and up. For left arrow key, you're gonna you see these 2 turn blocks. The one that is turning left 15 degrees, you're gonna drag into the left arrow. You're gonna change that 15 to 5, and then for the right arrow, you're going to choose the turn that is turning right and change that to 5 as well. Now if you run your program, you should be able to move your ball around however you would like. Now that's great, but it's quite a bit boring, so we're going to make the kaleidoscope part of it. To do that, you have to go into extensions, and your screen should look like this, and you're going to click on the pen. So now you see that opened, got you some new blocks. So the first block that you're going to drag in from this new area is erase all. And you're going to put that at the very top, or it could be underneath point direction and go to, your choice. Now you're going to put a stamp under the move 3. And so now if you run your program, it should leave a trail. So that's the first step of your kaleidoscope. Now this is optional, but you can put a stamp block under the backwards arrow. So that way if you move backwards, it'll also leave a trail. That is completely optional to you. So now you should be able to move your ball around and it should leave a colored trail. And that looks pretty good, but now we're going to add 2 more balls. To do that, you're going to click on the ball and you're going to click on duplicate. So now you should have a second ball, and you're going to duplicate it 1 more time, and you should have 3 balls in total. Now the first thing you're going to do to these other balls is you can change the color of all your balls. So you see that the balls already have built-in costumes of different colors. For the first ball, I'm going to choose a blue costume. For the second ball, I'm going to choose a green costume. And for the third ball, I'm going to choose a purple. And so now you see that my balls are all different colors. And they all work. The only problem is that they're always on top of each other. To change that, you're going to go into ball choose code. It's going to look exactly the same as the first ball, but there's one modification that we need to make. So you see this line that says point in direction 0 that's duplicated from the first ball. You're going to change that 0 to 120. And so now if you run your program, you'll see that the green ball moves slightly different from the blue ball and the purple ball because it's pointing in a different direction at the start. You're going to do almost the same thing to ball 3, except that it's going to be negative 120. If you run your program, you should have a regular kaleidoscope. And so now you can play around with it, and that you can, you programmed the regular kaleidoscope. Now my dad's going to take over and make the advanced kaleidoscope.
All right, that was awesome, sis. So she made Kaleidoscope just like we did last week, and she did it perfectly. The only thing that I would change is I don't take this stamp on the negative direction. A difference that McKinley and I have had for a long time. So everything is working and everything is good. But, you know, the advanced version, we want to do more. So there's two reasons we want to make an advanced version. Well, number one reason is that we want to make it to where you can actually select how many of these balls you want, right? So, you know, you might want to say 7 or something like that. And then you can make 7. And now, we don't want to make 7 balls, right? That would take forever to duplicate and make 7. You could also do things like 100, right? So you would never want to actually like duplicate the sprite 99 times and make 100 of them. But you can see that with this version of the advanced Kaleidoscope, you actually can make 100 sprites of something. And the solution to this duplication is to clone something. So that's one of the big advantages of cloning, is that you can have as many of something as you want. The other advantage is, let's say that you did want to make a change to your code. So if I wanted to make a change to this code, let's say I wanted to take out this stamp on the negative direction. Well, if I take it out of one of them, and I go forwards and I turn and then I go backwards, you can see that their code is actually different, right? And so that's another reason that you prefer clones instead of duplicating sprites. So here's what I want to do. I want to get it down to where there's only one sprite again. So I'm going to delete this second and this third copy. And my goal is to make just this one sprite be my only sprite in the game, and then to make clones of it. The other thing I'll say is that since we're using clone tricks, you don't really care about where this ball starts at all. In fact, you can just kind of like put it off into space just to kind of like prove that fact. And you can also hide it, right? Because that's the original. We don't care about the original at all. That's a pretty common trick with clones, that we just hide the original. And then also, whenever we're dealing with clones, we actually don't use when green flag clicked. So I'm going to take that off of when green flag clicked, and I'm instead going to control, and I'm going to find when I start as clone. And so that's also another trick that we use for clones a lot. Now the thing we've got to remember is, how were the sprites different? And the way that they were different was this point in direction. So the trick we've used in the past, and I'm going to go ahead and get you kind of started on this here, is we've made a variable that we've like set, and then we've done the clone. If you hopefully can kind of remember that trick. So I'm going to make a variable called the starting direction. And I again use my camel case system for starting direction, and it's going to be for all sprites. So now what I want you to try to do, and this is going to be a little tricky. I don't really need to show the starting direction variable. Is I want you to see if you remember some of the skills we've used in this camp for making clones, and see if you can do it on your own. And so this clone right here is almost done. The only thing he's missing is a show command. I usually like to show it after I do the goto, but that's because the original is invisible, and then this guy's shown. So he is almost done. He needs this point in direction to actually use this variable. And the thing I want you to just try on your own, it's going to be a challenge, is I want you to try writing the code that's going to make 3 balls. And so I want you to make 3 balls, 3 clones. And typically where we put code like that is over on the stage. So you're going to have to, make a clone, change the starting angle, make another clone, change the starting angle, make another clone, change the starting angle. If you can, I'd rather you did it with a loop instead of just three of those statements. And also remember there's a little bug to where you should put a small delay after you create your clone. So take a minute. You can review some old code if that helps you. But see if you can write the code for the stage yourself without my help. I'll come back. I'll write it in a minute. But see if you can write it without my help to make 3 balls. They will all be the same color right now. That's okay. But see if you can do that. All right, I think my camper's got it. McKinley knocked it out, no problem at all. Keegan's not quite as experienced. I helped him some, but he did get it. I'm not expecting you to get it. I just wanted you to try. So I'm going to write it with you. So this is on the stage. So things start when the green flag is clicked. So that's a good way to start. And then what I know I'm going to do is I know I'm going to repeat something 3 times. And the thing I'm going to repeat is going to involve making a clone. So I'm going to say create clone of ball. And then the little bug that we've kind of learned about is that you need a small delay after you create the clone with the tricks we're using. And so now I just need to, if I did this, I could put it on and run it, but it's going to create 3 balls that are all right on top of each other, right? So not quite what I was after. If I go into variables, what I really want to do is I want to set that starting direction to 0 at the beginning. And you can see that the balls already use that variable, starting direction. And so I want to set it to 0 there, and then I want to change it after I make a ball. So my starting direction, and the amount I wanted to change it back, if you remember from the simple version, is 120. And the reason it's 120 is because there's 3 balls, and all the way around the circle would be 360. So 360 divided by 3 is 120. So that's how I got that value. And I'm also going to delete this my variable just because it was annoying me. So I'm going to delete my variable. I did not delete starting direction, so I just deleted this one. And so now it does what I want, and it actually makes 3 clones, and it works kind of like it did before. The only problem that you see now is that they're all blue, and so we want to do something to make them not all blue. There's a couple different solutions to this, but I think what I'm going to do, just to keep it simple, is I'm just going to randomly pick a costume. I think that's good enough for this step because we're going to change it later anyway. So go into looks. Go into switch costume to, and I'm just going to stick it just before my show here. And you might remember you can address costumes by their name or by their number. And so if we look at this ball, we can see that it's got 5 costumes. And so a good way to randomly pick one is to go into operators and say pick random. And so we're going to refer to it by number. And we're going to pick one from 1 to 5. Now this isn't a great solution because it could have duplicates. So like there, I had 2 yellows. Here I've got 2 purples. There I finally got all 3 colors. The other way you could have written that is you could have made a variable called costume number, and then you could have indexed through it 1, 2, and 3. But we're going to change how we want to do it anyway. Cool. So things are going really well. The next thing I want to do is going to be a little trickier. We want to do not just 3 balls, but we want to do any number of balls. All right, so Sissy was jumping out of her seat because she already figured it out. So I told her that she could show you how to do it. So take it over, Sis.
Okay, so I have figured out the secret of making much more balls. How to do it is you go to Stage, and you see that we already have this code here. You're going to go to Sensing. It has this built-in question that is very handy for the type of thing we're about to be doing. So you're going to drag over ask what's your name and weight, and you're going to put it at the top of the code. You're going to change what's your name to how many balls do you want? And then you wait. And then instead of repeating 3 times, you're going to repeat the answer. So if you put in 26 balls, that would be the answer. Repeat 26 balls to make 26 clones of the ball. And then one last thing with the answer is you need to go into operators and find this division sign. Now you're going to take 360, which is all the degrees in a circle, and divide it by the answer so all your balls are equally spaced out. And so once you do that, it should work. And so if I say 26 balls and I hit enter, should make all those balls. And so that is how you make multiple clones of the ball.
All right, Sis, you're very clever. By the way, my son Keegan discovered that if you type in a bunch of balls, 123, and you start driving before it finishes making them, you can kind of make a weird stream pattern of them as well, right? So there's all kinds of crazy things that you can do. It looks really kind of spooky, right? So that's great. I am totally happy with that. You can see that it is only picking these 5 different colors. This is an optional step that I'm going to show you next, is you don't have to just use costumes. There's actually more things you can do with looks than just changing costumes. So just to show you that you can do this, there's all kinds of graphic effects that you can set. And so we're going to set the color to a random number. So instead of switching the costume, I'm going to set the color to a random number. I'm going to get this switch costume out of here because I won't need it. And so I just changed it. Instead of set the costume number, I'm going to set the color effect. You can see that there's a lot of effects that you can do to your sprites. Color is what we want here. It actually goes from 1 to 200. I have no idea why it goes from 1 to 200, but I had to look it up, and it apparently goes from 1 to 200. And so now if I put in, say, 8 balls, you can see that it'll randomly pick a variety of colors. So it's using the blue as the starting point, and then it's randomly changing it by up to 200. So if I run it again, it'll be different colors. I kind of like that pattern. That looks really good. It's almost like a rainbow. So that is an optional change. You can stick with the costumes if you prefer, but I wanted to show you about how you can actually change other graphic effects. The next thing I want to do, if you look at the solution over here, is that it makes a button to switch costumes. So if I said 8 sprites, I could do it with 8 sprites, but it's got this button that you can click on and say next, and then it'll switch everybody's color to the next costume. And we haven't used buttons in buttons in Scratch, but it's actually pretty easy to do. And I thought that since the camp is almost over, let's show you a button. So let's put a button in here. Oh, I'm going to save it first. So this is going to be saved as Kaleidoscope Advanced. Kaleidoscope is so hard to spell. E-I-D-O is the important part in Kaleidoscope. And so now I'm going to make that button. All right, so I'm going to make a new sprite here. So the button is actually a new sprite, and they're actually built in. So just click on Choose a Sprite. Just click on the circle here. And then you can probably find it. I just want the one that's called Button 2. You can use Button 1 or Button 3 if you wanted, but I'm going to use Button 2. Button 2, you can see, comes in 2 varieties. It can be orange or blue. I kind of like the blue the best. And then if you want, you can put words on your button. So I'm going to click on the text here, and I'm going to make white text. So I'm going to switch this to some white color. And then I'm going to type the word next. And you can see that the word next is currently a little smaller than the button. You can fix this one of 2 ways. You can either make the button smaller, or you can make the text bigger. Either one works. I think it might be easier to make the text bigger personally. So I'm just going to make the text bigger. And I'm not worried about the overall size yet, because the size up here, I'm going to change it with the size that's right here. So I can change the whole thing very easily. I just wanted to get the relative size of the button to the text right. So play around until you're happy with your button. I think that looks pretty good there. And then I'm going to choose to put it basically just right up in the corner. So I think that looks pretty good. If you wanted to do the lower right corner, you could. Doesn't really matter. But we've got a button. It looks clickable. And so we want to add code to make it actually be clickable. And buttons, what they typically do in their code is they're quite short. You have a when this sprite is clicked. And typically what you want to do is you want to tell somebody else that you got clicked. So what they typically do is they just broadcast a message. So almost every button I've ever made my whole life, it consists of these 2 lines of code. That's not quite true. Sometimes it wants to do something to itself, but usually it wants to tell other people, so it just broadcasts a message. I'm going to make a message here called next. So whenever I click the next button, he's just going to broadcast next. So he's just going to tell the whole world, next, right? So just a way of letting them know. The people that are going to have to listen for this next message are going to be the balls. So the balls, so coming to the balls code, are going to have a when I receive next. And what I'm going to do to change their color, again, there's many options here, is I'm just going to say next costume. And what that'll do is that'll change it from the blue to the next color, and then that color effect will have a different impact on that other costume. And so it hopefully should make all the balls change their colors. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it and run it again here. I'm going to say that I want 9 balls. And so now I can see that I've got 9 balls. And then when I click on the next button, he broadcasts to everybody next, and you can see that they all change their color. So it's kind of a way to have everybody change their color. And by the way, if you wanted the back to not leave a trace, the fun thing about this code is these are all clones. So you can just take it out one time. And so I'll do my 9 again. And now they all won't draw anything when they go back, which I like because then I can kind of do crazy patterns, right? Cool. I think this is pretty good. I think I might choose to put on a crazy backdrop. There's one that's kind of like goes with Kaleidoscope. Yeah, rays. I think rays is cool. And so now I can do as many as I want. So I'll do 80 just to kind of finish things off. I could start driving while they're building. That has a neat effect. But I think that I kind of like the effect here as well. And then if I click on next, all my colors will change. Click on next again. You can see that you can make all sorts of crazy patterns. Pretty cool, pretty fun. Click on share. As soon as you click on share, it takes you to this page. And we'll just say, tell me how many balls you want, and then use the arrow keys to drive. I'll put an exclamation point on there. So super fun project to share with other people. So once you get it made, make sure you copy that URL, email it to friends and family. They'll like seeing it as well. I better check out my campers to see if they made it through. I have a feeling that McKinley probably did. All right, campers, did you have fun today?
Yes.
All right. Whoa, Keegan's got some craziness going on. All right, let's see it from the beginning. Keegan, hit the green flag. How many balls did you pick?
9.
9 balls. And then click next costume. Looks fantastic. All right, McKinley, did you get yours working as well?
Yes. So
Oh, yeah.
move around.
That is so cool.
And then if I hit next, it goes to a different costume. And
Cool.
then if I hit the green flag, I can put in how many balls I want and move around.
Looks awesome. Looks very nice. Did you guys have fun this week?
Yes.
What was your favorite game? Is this your favorite one?
Yes.
It's shorter, which I know Keegan likes. Very nice work. So that's it for the camp. I want to say a couple things just to wrap up today. So first off, coding is fun. You can do this. That's our main message. That's our take home. Hopefully you've had that drilled into you over the last 1 or 2 weeks, depending on how long you've been with us. The other thing I'll say is that your creativity is important, is as important for what you can make as your coding skills. So coding skills are great, but you can really see how Scratch brings creativity to life. So this week we did a lot of things together. Let's just kind of review some of them. We started with the lawnmower. We learned how to do the math to make a grid and put them all up there. And then we revealed a random backdrop, which was really neat. Day 2 was the dino jump. That's where we learned about gravity, the guy throwing the ball off the roof. It starts going faster and faster as it gets lower. We also made that one kind of like a fun game to play. So that was one of our funnest games to play. The Irish sheepdog, this one was crazy. This one we created a timer to see how fast you could do this task. I don't know if people have played it, but using the arrow keys to get that dog around is kind of hard. And it's really neat to see if you can go faster and faster. We also learned about a neat concept called pushing sprites. So in order to push a sprite, for one sprite to push another, really they just need to have the same direction and the same speed. And then it looks like you're pushing that sprite, which is really fun. The hardest day was actually day 4. I told you that it was going to be day 3, but the hardest day was actually day 4. We did the slide puzzle. We made loops. We made lists. We did some advanced things that day. If you got your slide puzzle, again, that's a big pat on the back if you got that one working. And then today, Friday, was kind of a funner day. But really, we got to learn some new skills, like with user input and that color effect. And we got to reinforce the things that we've been learning throughout this camp. So how many of these different things use clones? Clones, 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 clones. Lots and lots and lots of clones. All right, so that is it. We loved having you join us. We have a lot of fun doing this camp. We hope to do it again next year. Certainly fill out that feedback just to kind of let us know what's going on. And you're definitely welcome and encouraged to buy a t-shirt to kind of remember your experience with us. All right, thanks so much. Bye.